It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
To the program, we have Senator Bryan King from Arkansas District 5. Bryan, it's always great to have you on, sir.
Hey, good to be on, Paul.
Okay, so I want to have you on because we always, talk about Arkansas corruption with you, and it seems like, we haven't had you on in a while. There's been a lot that's happened, and I'm just curious, generally speaking, we have, Jeremy Hutchinson's been indicted. We have the sentencing for John Woods getting 18-plus years. What are your thoughts generally about the landscape right now?
Well, Paul, first I want to say is I want to break some news with you that I've had a change of heart and maybe change of views in the way I did things. If you remember when I ran those Medicaid disclosure bills, people like Jeremy Hutchinson would say, I was mean, I was a bully, and people would talk about, well, it's just the way you come across, Bryan. It's just how you do it. It's not the fact that, they're getting $500,000 in alleged kickbacks at this time that they didn't want exposed, but it was the way I, just came about. And, like I said, I just came across mean as in a bully and all that stuff. Remember all that stuff, Paul?
Yes, I remember all of that.
Well, I want to say this. Maybe they were right, okay? But I would have to think now, after all this finally comes out, maybe if I would have been nicer, maybe if I would have just, brought some, flowers or, just something. And it looks, with Jeremy, maybe I just had to up the ante. Instead of $500,000, maybe $750,000. Okay, maybe that's what it done it. Being nice and more money, because as we see what's happening down here with the Medicaid entities, more and more comes out. And Paul, it's not just small amounts of money. It's not $5,000. It's not a trip somewhere. It's $500,000. It's World Series suite tickets. Unfortunately, I don't have $750,000. Our billions given to me by the taxpayers to turn around and give millions back to legislators in private deals that they don't want exposed. But, World Series suite tickets, that's tough. Me and my brother used to call the Green Forest football games, maybe the best I could offer was, inside a press box, at the Green Forest Tigers and Elkin. That's the best. I can't, World Series suite tickets, I don't know how you begin to do that.
You're right about the amount of money. Just today we have this guy by the last name of Noble who was a psychologist at Preferred Family Healthcare, and in a 28-page plea, he's pled guilty to knowing about the schemes, the embezzlement, the theft, and he personally got $4.3 million, and that's just a skim off of what everybody else was making. So it still continues day after day. We see the corruption in Missouri and Arkansas with this Preferred Family Healthcare, and this is the same group that is in the Milton Rusty Cranford plea. He says he gave Jeremy Hutchinson $500,000 in kickbacks.
Yeah, so this Noble guy, I guess, is that just now come out, or is that something new, or is that?
It was today. Yeah, it was posted today. Eric Besson, Lisa Hammersley, about him pleading guilty.
Wow.
Yeah, Keith Noble is the guy's name who pled guilty. That's the news of today. So I'd like to get your thoughts on this, Senator King. The biggest story last week, I think, was the revelation, thanks to Tim Brooks releasing the sealed documents, that were sealed documents in the John Woods case, is that John Woods went to Jim Hendren, Senator Hendren, the incoming president pro tem, the governor's other nephew, and asked for a $10,000 bribe in the event that both of them got put in the same district after redistricting. And John Woods was saying, listen, I won't run against you if you pay me $10,000. It was reported that Jim went to the authorities. The authorities said, we're going to need you to wear a wire if you want us to actually pursue charges. And Jim Hendren said, I'm not going to wear a wire. And then he didn't file an ethics complaint. This is now fast forward, we have all this corruption. Jim Hendren is trying to be the leader of reform in the parade, even though he's been down here the whole time, hasn't said a word about it. And now he's trying to say, well, we've got these new ethics rules where senators are going to tattle on each other. Are you skeptical about this? Does Senator Hendren have credibility at this point?
I think the question is, why did he support him in re-election? I mean, my understanding was they were all supporting John in his re-election. So, why did he support him in the re-election? And, with the release of the documents, it finally put back everything that we kept saying about the original private option Medicaid expansion insurance scam that style Medicaid expansion they came up with was that John traded his votes for personal favors. I mean, not just political favors. It wasn't political horse trading, which is, probably legal, but, I mean, I guess is legal whenever you trade and say, hey, I'll vote for this project and you vote for this project. No, it's just flat out personal favors. So how do you sit down there in the legislature and say you're righting the ship and going ahead when literally these Medicaid entities have been backing up the Brinks truck at the back of DHS over there for years and hauling off hundreds of millions of dollars of your tax dollars. Hundreds of millions. And all of a sudden now you want to say, I mean, if somebody goes in and robs a bank in downtown Little Rock or rural Arkansas and makes off with $50,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, it's major news. There's investigation. These guys have been hauling off millions, hundreds of millions of dollars over there at DHS, and all of a sudden they don't want to look into it or say it. And just like this incident comes out, but once again, why did Jim support John in his re-election?
That's a great question, because they did. So did Governor Asa Hutchinson. It seems to me because of it was all because of his vote for Medicaid expansion too. I mean, it was that's been the dividing issue among Republicans for the last several election cycles. John Woods was going to vote for Medicaid expansion. Sharon Lloyd was going to vote against Medicaid expansion. So they backed John Woods, knowing that he was corrupt. And knowing that he's going to trade his vote, and they don't care because this is about a $2 billion windfall to the state, and people are making money off of this.
Yeah, and I think it even goes farther. It's not as I said, this is not about the merits of a program. It's not about the benefits, the pros and the cons, the direction the state should go in how they spend, billions in Medicaid dollars. Look at this insurance scam, Medicaid expansion. Whose pockets does it wind up in? Big insurance companies. Look at all the personal favors, cronyism that we've seen on the top. Look at the part of Preferred Family Health. Look at the part of the Southern Arkansas part. And when you sit there and go, look at who's getting their pockets lined out of this. I mean, who stands to really benefit out of it? They'll sit there and say, Jim Hendren and others, Jonathan Dismang, when they advocate these programs, this is all about helping the poor people. Well, no. Jonathan Dismang got his friends helped out by this legislation. And it just makes you wonder, and where the media is not asking questions about all this is, I mean, you even had the part about Cranford released in documents that he went to someone in the governor's office and tried to get somebody out of prison early that had committed murder. I mean, can you imagine? And that's what the media will not do down there, is investigate, ask questions, do anything. I mean, if something comes out and they have to report it, they'll do that, and then it's on to going forward that we're going to clean the mess up. It's not about responsibility. What did you know? What happened? Can you imagine if Donald Trump's nephew got named in a $500,000 kickback scheme? How they'd be going crazy? I mean, it's just this world down there is not in reality. They do not want to. And if you start saying something or trying to hold people accountable, or ask questions or get into exposing this, well, all of a sudden, you're the problem. You're a terrorist. Paul, you're a terrorist. Jeremy Hutchison is not a problem to the state of Arkansas, okay? Jeremy Hutchison is nothing. Michael Lamoureux's been named out there. All the stuff John Wood said, it's like that's not an issue. Don't even want to talk about looking into what happened. Why did I do this? What's your responsibility? How did it get here? Were you taking steps to stop it? It's just mainly, Paul, you're a terrorist. I'm a terrorist. That's all we are. I mean, it is just so unreal that how these people are denying reality. And, once again, the media allows it to happen.
Yeah. It was very interesting when Senator Hendren, compared Conduit to terrorists in Afghanistan that put on the Allied uniform and then go into the camp and shoot their own guys or whatever. Yeah, that was very
very
when
offensive. Jeremy Hutchison is sitting up there with World Series suite tickets. Okay, I don't even know what they would cost. I was assuming, World Series tickets, anything would cost. I don't know what, $3,000 to $7,000. I don't even know. I didn't even get on StubHub and check because I couldn't even go. But obviously Jeremy Hutchison could go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and not only could he go, he sat in the suite. I mean, I don't know. Is that $15,000, $25,000? And Jeremy Hutchison can vote and steer legislation to make sure these people have access, routes that they're going to be paid with your tax dollars. And that's not a problem to Jim Hendren, okay? And it's funny how John Woods can be, and John needs to be held accountable, and he certainly was, and the GIF and the Rusty Cranford part, and now this other $1 million thing that came out. John Woods can do all that, but yet, Jeremy Hutchison, it's not an issue. Nothing to see here, folks.
You really raised a lot of interesting points here, and it's really something that I missed, and that is the part about him not horse trading, and him selling his vote for the private option for personal favors. Back to John Woods, and yet the main reason, and this is kind of all, I'm thinking of all this right now. The main reason they supported him for re-election is because they had to have his vote for.
That's right.
For the private option. That really blows the lid off of this entire thing, and it says everything that we suspected this whole time has been true, and yet now Senator Hendren is the incoming president pro temp of the Senate, and he's been down there the whole time. He said nothing, and now he wants to lead and be credible on ethics. I just don't know. I don't know. I think Senator Jim Hendren should step down as the president pro temp. I mean, I really do. I think at this point, if the institution of the Senate is serious about restoring its credibility, I don't think he's the guy to do it. I don't think he's the guy to lead people out of this mess.
Yeah, I think Jim Hendren needs to answer some serious questions. I personally, in personal conversations, I've put tough questions to him, and he doesn't like it. Okay? And, if John Woods traded his vote for, what people, if he was a real leader and wanted to step up and really get to the bottom of what's happened down there, as I mentioned, think of it like a bank robbery. Okay? That's basically what happened with these political people that made sure their people were taken care of, who then turned around and lined their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He ought to be asking and demanding who else sold their vote for Medicaid expansion.
Yeah.
Okay? For personal gain. Who else has been dealing with these Medicaid entities for personal gain? I mean, that's where the real question lies. What else did Jeremy Hutchison do? This is just what has come and scratched the surface. I could tell you right now, there's a lot of other things that Jeremy Hutchison needs to be answering about his personal involvement with legislation and with the opening of, that's came out in the public already. They need to be asking more questions about people and members down there. But Jim Hendren is not doing that, and he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And the question is, why, Jim?
The whole thing was a fraud. It's the biggest fraud. A Medicaid expansion using insurance companies. is the biggest fraud on the people of Arkansas in my opinion, the entire history of the state. I don't know if you can get much worse than what's going on, and we still don't know. Like you just said, we still don't know, who sold their vote for personal favors. We knew there was allegations of bribes. The John Woods documents confirm it, and yet they supported him anyway. They knew how corrupt he was. They'd rather have a corrupt Republican than an honest, principled Republican, and that's the big takeaway here. Brian, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, and then you go even farther of look at this legal defense fund that they're setting up out here for Jeremy. Come help Jeremy get off of this. I mean, I don't call it the Jeremy Legal Defense Fund. I think it maybe needs to be called the let's fund this to help get Jeremy off where he don't rat on the rest of his fund. But, they need to be, like I said, it's like a bank robbery, folks. A bank robbery, you go through this set of steps. That's the same thing that's been happening with Arkansas people's tax dollars. But yet, I don't want to look at it. I know Jim Hendren doesn't like to be asked tough questions about anything. I can tell you that personally. But you're a jihadist if you say anything or do anything about that. And like I said, media helps cover it up down there.
All right.
They do not want to help look into it. And you have legislators down there that basically, I would rather run and lose an election, trying to fight and expose this stuff, than to have won it and kept my mouth shut and be quiet about it, because this level and what has happened and everything down there, nobody needs to be silent about it.
Senator Bryan King, it's always great to have you on, sir. I appreciate it so much.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Next time I'm going to be nicer and give somebody a $750,000.
Yeah,
and be nicer, and maybe then I can,
Yeah, and a box of chocolates, flowers, box of chocolates.
Yeah, something. Yeah, help me out, Paul. Throw me a bone and see if you can come up with.
Okay,
All
yeah,
right.
okay. Thanks, Brian. We appreciate it. Have a great day. Folks, we're going to